Hello everyone. This is a little bit of a different video. I was requested to show how to make a tripod, so I'm going to actually show you guys how to make a mech tripod. And it's not as complicated as it looks, and I will show you guys how to make a tripod. So you will want to take into account several things. So first of all, there are many different kinds of tripods. And of course here we have three different ones. Of course, this one has more generic legs, which are just moving kind of like a normal foot here. There's some kind of like a normal reverse foot kind of pattern here. You might notice there's this extra joint here, and the reason why is so you can angle the legs here, so you have a little bit of a better balance. Now, I won't go into too much detail with this mech or this mech because they're part of a scenario I'm actively building, but just showing you the leg designs basically helps a little bit with understanding how these mechs work. Now this one here is a bit of a different leg design. Of course the back leg kind of works like a normal leg, but these side legs are different because they're actually using this joint here to move the legs back and forth as they walk. So it's a little bit of a different kind of walk cycle, and it is a bit tricky. I'm going to go and remove this, and then we're going to look at this big one here, which you can see has this kind of digitigrade kind of leg style, which is really neat. And because of its size, it needs a lot of hinges per joint in order to actually hold up that kind of weight. But in actuality, I'll show you guys with this large mech everything that you need in order to actually make a tripod. It's actually a lot simpler than it looks. First, all you're going to need is just, 3 leg joints of your choice. In this case, right here, we have the hip, the knee, and the foot joint. And of course, there's no other joints down here. I have this extra joint here, which you don't actually need, but for a mech of this size, it helps a little bit to be a bit of a cushion, just in case there's a bit of a lot of weight. Now on the inside here, of course, you're going to need a power source, which is fairly obvious for most builds. And of course, you're going to need 2 program blocks. And the reason why you can need 2 is because what you're going to have is you're going to have one pair of legs having one program block, and another pair of legs, or in this case just an extra leg, having a second program block. Then of course you're going to need some gyros for control, and then what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to make this thing here. Not to this scale, I'll show you what this is in a little bit, but that is an AMBS system, which is pretty neat. And obviously you're going to need some kind of way to control your mech, which is pretty simple here. Now let's go ahead and just get started with building a simple tripod. I'm going to go ahead and get started by getting a landing gear right here. And we're gonna go ahead and also get a battery. And for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna make this small grid, just so it's nice and small. I'm gonna turn off trash cleanup real quick. Where is it? There it is. So of course, you want to maglock your mechs to the ground, or to the roof, however you prefer. Sometimes I'll use a small building like this over here, which basically will have a magnetic thing on the roof with pistons, so you can just pick up your mech. But for this, we're just going to use the ground here. We're going to go ahead and build up as tall as we think our mech is going to be, and we're going to go ahead and start here. Now first things first, we need to kind of just make the overall size of our mech here. So I'm going to go ahead and make a platform here that we're going to pretend is our mech. I'm actually going to turn on symmetry mode here. Let's say we want our mech to be maybe like a 3x3 kind of thing here, right? And that's kind of be like the body of our mech right there. And of course, with this body here, we're gonna go ahead and make the other necessary things that we need. So, battery. We're also gonna need some kind of cockpit, so we're gonna go ahead and just add this here. Just basic stuff. Pretty simple, right? There's nothing too complicated. We're gonna get our 2 program blocks, and we're gonna go just add them wherever we want. You'd probably want to shape the body a lot more. Now what you're gonna do, you want to make sure you know the difference between these 2 program blocks. So we're going to name this one program block walk 1 and this one program block walk 2. It just makes it easier for me to figure out what program block is doing what. So we're going to go to edit, browse scripts, and we're going to look for a specific script. Now what we're going to look for is the advanced Walker script 2, right here. Now I prefer using this script because it works pretty well for a lot of things. I do have a basic tutorial on the on YouTube right now if you guys want to look at that. I am a little bit quiet in that video, so you might have to, raise the volume to hear my voice, but it does work pretty well. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn off import from custom data here because we're not using the custom data to actually edit any of this. You can use the custom data if you want to follow along there, but I prefer this menu here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and you're going to look through all these different settings here. All you want to do, throttle decay here, you're going to want to set that to true. All this setting does is it says whether you want dampeners to be on or off. Now, if you have this set to false, your mech is going to keep walking forever even when you tell it to stop. If you set to true, it's going to stop by itself when there's no input whatsoever, which helps a lot. Now, we don't really care about these two settings. These are if you have thrusters on your mech. We're not going to touch these. But if you have thrusters on your mech, I recommend turning these to false, so that way it won't, automatically use them when you press space. Now, the most important thing here to pay attention to is this part here called script number. What this is going to do is that this is going to tell the script which pair of legs it is. In this case, this is leg pair number 1, which is very simple. We're going to scroll through these settings here, and there is one more thing we need to edit. And of course, that is going to be here, the step speed. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to set this to 2, so it's a slower walk cycle. If you keep it at 5, it's going to walk so fast, it's actually might not even be able to, walk. So we're going to slow that down to 2. You can also mess with the max speed here to slow down even more, but it's up to you how you want to edit these settings. And we're actually going to return to this later. And I'll show you why. So we're going to do this Control C. And we're going to go to the second one here. And we're going to repaste the entire script in here. The same thing we just copied. And it's the same exact settings, except what we're going to do is we're going to go over to script number here and we're going to change this to 2. And you'll see when you look at both of these, they say there's no cockpit named Mech Cockpit. So we're going to go here and we're going to rename this. Done. And now they're working. So now we want to actually get started with making the legs. Now, I'm going to think about what kind of tripod I want to make with these. I think I'm just going with something basic. I'm just going to use normal hinges, but it's up to you how you want to make this. So we're going to start by making the front leg here. And of course I'm going to make it in a similar style to this. Not digitigrade, but in a similar kind of style. So we're going to place one hinge here, and you should work one hinge at a time. So right here, we're going to grab this hinge. And this is going to be our hip joint. So we're going to call it HL. And then because it's the first pair of legs, we're going to put out number 1, and we have to choose the direction of it. So in this case, minus. Now, in the program block, right here, you'll notice that we have these forward set to true. And that means it's going to be like a normal humanoid leg on the front. On the back leg, we want to go in the opposite direction, kind of like how that mech up there is. So we're going to go over there, and we're going to get a program block here, and we're going to change this to false. So that way it's more of like a chicken leg walker on the back. So now that we have that figured out, let's go ahead and just make our leg here. I don't know, let's make it 10 blocks so it's really tall. I think that'll be fine, right? Actually, 7 blocks might be fine. So let's go with 7. So now we're going to go and make our next joint here. One thing that helps me out is to get an antenna and put it directly onto your build somewhere. Let's put it all the way down here, just for convenience. And with this, what we can do is we can go into our antenna here, and what we can do is we can go to the terminal of our build remotely and do things a lot easier. I'm going to go and set this up. KL is for the left knee, and then we're going to set up the next joint here, which is going to be the foot joint. We're going to use FL and we use P, just like that. And of course, you forgot the number. So there is that. We want to set this to plus, 2 goes in the right direction, and there we have our leg joint, or just the whole leg. And we're going to make the same style of leg for this side and the other side. So let's go ahead and just copy it over, just like so. Now, because this is the right leg, it has a different connotation. It's HR. So same thing, except using an R to make sure it's the right leg. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this up as needed. If you put one of these hinges in the wrong direction, it doesn't matter. You just use the plus or minus to actually just set it up however you prefer. Just like that. And now we're going to go ahead and make the rear leg, which should be pretty simple. So it's going to work in kind of the same way, except what we're going to do it is going to be a number 2 instead. And what you might notice, because it's a middle leg, it doesn't matter whether you put left or right. So you can make it either. You just have to make sure the whole leg is using the same exact, right or left. And of course, you need to make sure it's a number 2, and you might notice the direction here is kind of the same as the other ones over there, if the hinges are all facing the correct direction, and that's because we set it up to be a chicken walker. So it's going to go in the opposite kind of direction. So we're going to go and set this up the same way we did the others. So now we have something that looks like this. But there's only one small problem with this, okay? So we're going to go and cut this, and now we have this walker here. And you'll notice it's going to fall over. And the reason why it falls over so easily is because 1, we don't have any gyros, but 2, we're missing a critical system that's actually really important for walkers that are not as stable, like this. So let's go ahead and change that by adding some gyros. So we're going to add a couple gyros here. We don't really need too many. I'm thinking just 2, so we're going to put 2 right there. That's going to help out a little bit, but the main thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a simple system that I have on the workshop, and that is the AMBS system here. So we're going to go ahead and spawn this in, and we're going to look at how this works. So of course there's multiple different variations here. What we're really looking for is a simple one like this. So of course, what I can do is I can just copy and paste this module onto the mech in order to keep it perfectly stable. However, I think it's easier to just teach you guys here how to make them from scratch. So all we're going to need right now, we're going to need a rotor. Right there. And we're going to call that rotor AMBS. We're going to change the torque here to be a bit lower, and we're going to turn on inertia tensor. Now, one thing you're going to need to do is you need to go to both of these program blocks, and you have to look for a very specific setting on here, and it's this one right here, rotor limits. Right now it's set to 135. You want to change that to 361. What that means is it's going to allow the rotor limits to go up to 361 degrees, which means it can go a full circle and more. In other words, unlimited. That's basically all it's saying. If you don't change this, what's going to happen is that AMBS system is going to get stuck at exactly 135 degrees and it's not going to work. And of course, you might notice is that all of these, if these were rotors, they would actually stop at 135 degrees with the previous settings. But with the new settings, they won't follow that anymore and just do it their thing. But here, these are going to be set to unlimited because, what's it called? That's past the 360 mark. So now that we have this, we're going to need to go ahead and we're going to get a, where is it called? AI blocks. What you're going to need is a move and a task block. And this is something you can use on any mech, ship, boat, doesn't really matter. This keeps it perfectly aligned to gravity. So what you're going to do is you're going to get one of these and make sure it's upright on the system. Doesn't matter, you can place the rotor on the top or the bottom. It just needs to be completely vertical. Right here, you get your AI basic right there. Gonna slap another antenna onto this so you can access it. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and set those AI blocks right now. Very simple. So we're going to turn this on and we're going to set this to autopilot. And we're gonna set it to one way, and we're gonna choose a random GPS. We're gonna go with moon test orbit. Make sure it's something that's kind of far away and not like super close, but it could just be anywhere. Now that you have that, we're gonna go ahead and grab this, and we're gonna turn this on. We're gonna turn off collision avoidance. And we're gonna set everything to 0 except for the pitch angle. We want that to be 2 degrees, so it has that tiny bit of wiggle room. And you see, that's gonna be pretty simple. That's gonna want to go all the way up to the moon, right over there. Now what we're gonna need some gyroscopes. Let's go ahead and slowly add some gyroscopes, and what you'll notice is that that is gonna try going that way. Let's keep adding some gyroscopes until it works. Look at that. It stood up all by itself. And of course you can add more gyroscopes to help it. Depending on how heavy your mech is, you're going to need more and more gyroscopes, and it's up to you to make sure this fits. You can put a casing around it and put it in the heart of your mech, just like I've done with other mechs, but it's not completely necessary unless you want the auto-balancing system. You can also just make it on the exterior of your mech, but now you have something that looks like this. Now, if your mech is way too quick, what you can do is you can set one of your gyroscopes to have override, so that way you have more stability control on here. So now you have something that looks like this, and that's actually a lot better. Now, one thing that's also really important to note is that when you're walking with a tripod, your front legs are going to be moving at one speed, and your back leg is also going to be moving at another speed. For the best settings, I recommend that your back leg moves slightly faster than your front leg. So we're going to get this, and we're going to move that to 0.3. Just like that. And with that, the walker should work. So if I hold W here, this should walk. That is a functional tripod, and that is all you need to know about how to make tripods. Now you can mess with all kinds of leg designs and whatever you'd like, and you know, that's really it. Now of course, you can play with the strength of the rotors and a lot of other settings. You could put, override on these gyros here, and you can mess around with a ton of stuff. As you can see, I can move this around however much I want, and it will not fall over. If I hold C, it will crouch down. It's all pretty simple. I don't think there's anything more to show you guys here. I've shown you guys how to make a tripod with this leg style here, but if you want other leg styles, it's up to you to figure out how you want to make those legs. So, good luck out there and have fun engineering these tripods or whatever else you'd like to make using this knowledge. Take care.